This video is brought to you by Slate Black Industries. For grips and accessories, visit slateblackindustries.com.
Why do these bolt hold opens, why do they look like little penises?
You say that every time you touch the gun.
This looks like a penis.
You say it every single time you use
with a
that
really
gun.
big head.
Alright, man. Let's start at 150.
Alright. As the side of the magwell says, say when, sir.
I love Tombstone.
Oh.
Do you know that reference?
Yes, I know. Doc.
Say when. Nice.
Recoil on this thing is quite nice.
Yeah, we'll see if I fall victim to having it incorrectly gassed. Alright, 200. Impact. Impact.
Yeah, so you see the top impact right there? I was using that as a reference point.
Yep.
It's basically 0.3 mils off to the right.
Yep.
Already at
Yep.
200.
Alright, 250. Left line of the head.
Yes.
Confirmed. Impact. Wow, yeah. Still you need even more wind already.
Is it those impacts on the
Yes,
right?
in the bottom right, yeah.
Oh, this is going to be a great day.
Dude. The wind. Alright, 300, Henry. Impact. Left of center, bottom quadrant. Impact.
I see it.
Alright, I'm on at 350. Impact. Low line, or lower 25% of the plate. Impacts.
Nice.
400.
All right, 2-2.
Center, re-engage. Nice, all hits.
Nice. There's a bird that flew out from behind.
Yes. Okay, 450. Impact, press the left edge. Nice, just left of center there.
Saw it. All right, I'm gonna start dialing.
Got it.
3.6 on the gun. Ready?
Left, 0.3.
Left, 0.3.
Impact up at the neckline, ease the elevation a tenth or two.
Okay.
Re-engage. Left, 0.3. Impact.
All right. I pushed it down to the belly.
It still came in upper chest there too, so.
Okay.
575.
5.75. We clocked at 4.6 before.
Solid hit, re-engage. Nice. Good hits, upper chest.
Nice. All right. 700. Dial in 4.7 on the gun.
4.7 on the gun. 0.5.
Left, 0.5. Standby.
Is that a hit, or is it just low? Come up. Come up 2/10. Re-engage. That was it. Nice. Re-engage. Same hold. Re-engage.
.5 on the left.
Confirmed. 0.5. Solid.
That bird does not move.
Not at all, dude. I'm still not positive about that first one. I think it was short.
Okay.
Because those other two were good, right?
Yeah.
Nice. 830.
830. 87 is what we had on the dial.
0.7.
Left 0.7, stand by.
Yeah, buddy.
I saw that second hit too.
Nice. That was fast as crap, dude. I wasn't
top
even ready
quadrant.
for you.
Yeah,
That was my bad. I was going to correct you because the first was right half.
I saw it. I saw it.
Let's go.
Second one, I just did it.
Dude, you're an animal. I love it.
All right, 900. I've got 10. 10 dial on the gun.
Left 1.1.
Left 1.1, stand by.
Impact. Impact.
Nice. Ah,
Boing. Solid hit on that one. Henry, target is shorter target on the right.
got it.
Range 975.
11.3 dialed on the gun.
Okay, 11.3 on the gun. Stand by for wind. Left 1.3. Impact. Impact.
Nice.
Dude, TX10's a freaking beast, man.
Yeah, man. So, unfortunately, there was one missed call. That was on us.
Just elevation, I think.
That was the one missed call. Let me re-look at that elevation. Can you go back to the turkey real quick?
Sure can, yeah. Dude, because, I mean, you hammered it on the subsequent 2 shots.
Yes, but I want to just look back. I'm going to dial back 6-1 on it. All right, I'm on the turkey.
Stand by. Just over the top.
Yep. Okay. We had the right call. I was double checking on that because we had 5.7, 5.8 dialed. I dialed 6.1 just right now because I didn't know if it was the AI that
Data table problem or not. Yeah.
Yeah. So we had the right call on that one.
Nice,
I saw the impact right above it too.
Yep.
Great wind call on your part, dude. But look, TX10. Like, people don't know this. Sometimes when we see things that we think it's not doing particularly, doesn't match up what the reputation of stuff is, we kind of try to take a couple more educated thoughts to see if we're doing something wrong. And I think the last few times running 168 grain tipped, Hornady tipped ELDMs, right? And this time switching to SMKs without the tip, I think that did a lot better.
Yeah,
frankly.
I think people need to sort of get a little bit of background here on what Henry's talking about. So when we originally got this rifle in, we did a full classic review on it where we shot a bunch of different groups with different ammos. And one thing you'll note if you go back and watch that vid is that there is... we recorded it once there, but we then subsequently have seen it to be true several additional times. Mm-hmm. And it was that this rifle, really tight shooting gun. Like 9 rounds, under an inch, repeatedly, with different ammos. But what we saw is that every once in a while, out of a 9-shot group, there'd be a flyer. Mm-hmm. That was like a very obvious windage-based flyer.
Yep.
Then we took it out on practical accuracy. This is some time ago now. Mm-hmm. And when we shot it on practical accuracy, it did great throughout the course. And all of a sudden, we noticed that there were like 1 or 2 flyers that were way off for windage. Mm-hmm. And so we needed to diagnose what was going on. And after speaking with Adrian at Sidewinder, we basically diagnosed back that it was probably an issue shooting polymer-tipped ammo.
Right. So this time running it with no polymer-tipped ammunition.
Classic SMK.
Using a table that's close to what my AI does, 20-inch 308. Walked it out there, no issue.
Yeah.
Great shooting rifle. Gassing is perfect. All of it landed at the 4, 5 o'clock position. Recoil was mild. I mean...
Dude, that second shot at 800, I didn't even have time to correct it.
But I decided because I was able to see where the impacts were. The callus is amazing. I really like the callus optics. Reticle was easy to adjust too if I needed to adjust any like windage issues on it. But obviously this isn't like like a couple $100 optic. I mean, you expect it to do very well. But this combination is not cheap. But talk about performance, man. Like, that is some pretty good performance.
Love to see it out of the 308, too. Even on the windy day, love to see it.
Yeah. I mean, today the wind is challenging. It's been on and off, pops on and off. But, definitely, I'm glad we worked on shooter-spotter comms that sped things up a lot.
Yeah.
I love Andrew. I love what they do at LSA. This thing does not disappoint. Like, now that we know not to shoot tipped ammunition out of it, right?
Yeah. Well, again, that was what we diagnosed and what we think is the likely culprit to what we were seeing. Again, so for perspective, I think we probably still have that old footage. It's from like a year plus ago now.
Yeah.
But we can roll it over and show exactly what we're talking about. I don't think that that's a rifle problem, because once I've switched back to shooting the gold medal, the SMKs, I've not seen that stringiness happen again.
So it's interesting, right? Like, tipped Max Kings are really nice. Like, it helps with the BC quite a bit. But maybe this is a topic for us to experiment with some other stuff. Because I typically don't shoot any tips. I have TMKs, but typically my TMKs are loaded fairly long, and they don't fit into the auto loaders that I have. So all of my TMKs, not by design, but end up getting shot out of bolt actions, which have very low probability of deforming those tips. So maybe that's a thing to look at. Rifle-wise, excellent gassing, excellent accuracy, excellent glass, great ammunition. What more could you ask for?
It's a beast.
Yep. So, see you guys around. Three hits, one off the right. The first one was off the right. The subsequent ones you corrected to the on play.
Nice. I had to go from I went from a 0.7 to a 1.
Hello there. I'm just here maintaining the 9-hole scar so that it's always ready when I need it. But did you know that the first few times we actually took the scar out to pattern it for accuracy, we actually had a very tough time getting any sort of decent results. And it wasn't until we determined that some of these screws here that hold the barrel in place had actually worked themselves loose. But how did we get to that point? Shooting hundreds of rounds of match grade 308 ammunition and working through the problem solving required to get the scar functioning correctly. Well, it was due in no small part to the small but loyal community that we have over on Patreon, who support us with the financials in order to be able to go out and buy ammunition to perform these tests, as well as the emotional and intellectual support that, well, let's be honest, you all know we very much need. So we'd certainly like to have you guys consider joining us over on Patreon. And of course, if that's not something you're interested in, we'd very much like to also just simply hear from you in the comments down below here as well. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of the episode. Onward we go.
Welcome into the debrief. Henry. Is this the most precise large frame gas gun that we have tested?
Well, we haven't taken the PSG-1 or the MSG-90 on the course yet, so we haven't seen the true king, I would say. And I feel like this, because of how long it's been with us, there hasn't been a development on what we expect out of these things. Because back in the day, when people looked at AR-10s, oh yeah, half MOA or better, yeah, that's what they do. It's a precision AR-10. It ought to do that. That drove some very unrealistic expectations for AR-10s. And because of that, when I saw this thing and how it shot, I was like, oh yeah, it's an AR-10. It does that.
Totally guilty of that as well. Because this was like the first large frame that I had.
Yep. And in reality, After all these years, Josh, LMT, LaRue, Knights, what else do we have? Noveski.
PSA?
Oh, okay. Shooting multiple different large frame rifles, to include the Scar family, to include, let's say, even looking at what bolt action rifles can do. AR-10s, I would say, 1 MOA on the top end, 2 MOA, even 2-ish if you're really edging on the side of more reliability than precision. That's kind of what we see. It's not a sub MOA system typically.
I think we have to reiterate here, because everybody seems to lose track of this. We're talking repeatable long string groups, right? So 9 or 10 shot groups where you're not shooting three shot groups and picking the one that's under an inch. We're talking we can consistently shoot the gun to a certain level within a series of average. When you look at a 1.25 or 1.5 inch 10 shot group or 9 shot group, especially where most of the cluster is like very centrally located, you might have one round that's a bit out or something like that. Those groups are insane looking. And there is no connection to like reality in that world.
So I mean, that's unfortunate. I mean, because we can also attest to how you can fall into that tract of expecting that type of stuff because of what people post on Instagram or forums or wherever.
And we're not going to help any when we show these groups.
Yeah. So this is a very high dollar rifle because a lot of care was placed behind it. Materials were excellent to generate it. No, it is not your friend's AR-10 who he shot 4 5-round groups, because you get 4 groups out of a box of 20 rounds of ammunition. And he took one of them and conveniently hid the 3 with the barrel side, the stock side, and the magazine side on the same piece of paper, and made a nice picture with just that 5-round cluster. This is something that we could expect dependably from this rifle. Okay, established that this rifle is one of the most accurate semi-autos that we've shot. I'm a bolt action guy. I like bolt actions because I could depend on it working every single time. Reliability is paramount for me. Follow-on shots are important, but reliability is more important for me. The AR-10 system, it has, from what we've seen, there's a certain amount of them that have not reliability problems per se, but you need to figure out what makes it choke and then prevent doing that. And I think this is one of the systems that we've learned what makes it choke and actively prevented ourselves from inducing those issues.
That's a great way to say it, Henry. It's like this rifle, I would say, and many others like it, but this one, based on its build, based on the fact that it's running extended gas system, for example, so lower pressure at the gas port, less dwell time in the barrel. It's a very, very soft shooting, very nice and controllable rifle, but it is particular about its configuration in terms of the load, suppressed, unsuppressed, so on and so forth, right? So to Henry's point, what we've been able to identify with this is when timing this particular rifle to a load, the unsuppressed load, I like to have sort of right around that 3 to 4 o'clock position. Suppressed will be hotter and harder hitting and a bit more gas into the system as a result. But we have to stick with that load of ammunition. And if we switch to a different load in terms of like the velocities or the pressures, we need to adjust the gas system. Otherwise, the extreme ends of that spread ends up having some sort of issues with reliability. So just as a quick example of this, if we have the gas set for gold metal, which is generally softer shooting in my experience, and it's set for gold metal unsuppressed at about 4 o'clock, perfect ejection, then gold metal suppressed and unsuppressed is going to function fine for as long as like a normal rifle. But if we switch it into, say, a Burger, the Burger OTM 175 Tacticals, that's a much hotter load. In fact, we're seeing like over 100 feet per second of increased velocity there. If I switch into that and then I run a suppressor, the gun will definitely be overgassed, and I've seen it choke in that capacity. And then if the gas is set for that configuration, we take the can off and then we go to gold medal 175s unsuppressed, then it will short stroke, right? So it's very particular in terms of where it needs to be set. This is a performance vehicle. It's like a race car, and we need to make sure that we're tuning it for the racing fuel that we're putting in it.
Yep. Precisely. I mean, you can't hot swap between suppressor, no suppressor, ball ammunition one day, and then expect it to work just as fine as running burgers. There are systems,
and
that
maybe
are like
some
that,
setups can do that because they err towards the side of that more generalist wide range of gassing and reliability. This is not that setup.
I think the one that I've heard of from our Patreon guys the most is the SIG. The 769.
Yeah.
The one that the Indian military had adopted. You're also looking at a significantly different recoil pattern and like 2.5, 3 MOA expected group sizes, which is like that's a G3, sir. Sir, you have created a G3.
How is then the TX10 achieving some of these hyper stupid tight groups where basically we're threading 6-7 shots through a single hole in
You see, sir, you take money from the bank and throw it into the lathe and turn it on, and it mixes itself and turns into this.
So these are done by the team at LSA. So these are done by the team at LSA with Bartline blank barrels, or I think they also had some that were Hawk Hills. Pretty sure that this is a Bartline. But yeah, these are stupid accurate guns and barrels. Again, driven with the core being that barrel itself, right? It's being hand turned and finished by the team at LSA. And they gave us a brief on this when we asked about how they were turning the MPC barrels, the 5.56 ones back in the day, and they had all of these very specific ways that they were using XYZ lathe with this. Stop.
Continue. Sorry.
Stop. Using this particular lathe and hand turning X with this specific chamber, with these cuts, and so obviously again it comes down to an area of immense expertise and having done this many times. And when we look at this rifle overall, the barrel is also almost 1 inch in thickness, right? So this is a seriously competition oriented setup in terms of what the barrel is trying to do. When you shoot this out over strings, the impact of heat and the dispersion of adding a suppressor at the end and shifting your point of impact was almost negligible. We affixed a suppressor and we basically shot 0 point of impact shift whatsoever, which is
what Josh
pretty
is
awesome from that capacity.
So what Josh is describing there, when you have a thinner barrel and you put a suppressor on, typically you get some barrel droop, and that is a pretty good indication on what the gauge of your barrel ended up being. Now, I mean, lighter barrel, easier to carry, however you run into things like that. A stiffer barrel gives you, it's a stiffer barrel. It gives you a little bit more of less of a droop, and in this instance, 0 droop.
We've talked quite a bit about this rifle before. It has a full classic review on the channel, right? You guys can go and you can see the entire breakout of this gun, this build, what have you. Henry, just really quick, let's jump back into on the day, right? Shooting this one for score. We dropped 1 round, which ended up being probably a bad elevation call from us on our dope table, right? We needed to make an adjustment. And we proofed it out afterwards, and yep, we have it now corrected. This is definitely a rifle where, even on a moderately windy day, can probably clear this course with very little issue, given that it's a 20-inch barrel, and given the level of precision that it possesses. Shooting it in the configuration, shooting it with the Collis glass, how was this for you?
I mean, it was like shooting my TRG-22, basically also running Collis glass. Callus could do no wrong in my book.
Hold on.
Callus could do no wrong as far as the K series glass. It's really nice. It was a very good pairing to use the K318 because you keep that low end, but then 18 is perfectly serviceable out to the 1000, which a 20-inch 308 is excellent for 1000. Now, much like the TRG-22, pushing out to 1000, if you're running into moderate or high winds, I'm not saying it's impossible. There may be a little bit more difficulty on first round impact. A little bit more. I mean, you can.
At what point do you normally draw that delineation, Henry?
like
what yardage line?
9
do you
or
see
1,000. 9 or 1,000.
So like through 800, kind of good to go.
Yeah.
And then if you're in rough winds, you start to see it like past 800.
Right. And if you look at, like, that was not a windy day.
No.
The shot that was dropped did not have any windage issues. It was purely an elevation issue. And everything else, there was hardly much of an issue with elevation. In fact, pushing all the way out there, I felt that it was still grouping fairly tight, pushing all the way out there. I mean, we talked about it in the video at one point, and this is a learning point for us, is like, do those plastic tipped, the tipped Match Kings and the Hornady ELDMs, do those run into issues? Do they snap off and run into issues in these rifles? Because previously, when we took this out, I would be lit. It was on fire, going all the way out. All of a sudden, sends around like 3 targets to the right at 800.
Yeah, to Neverland, right? Like,
Yes.
made no sense.
Center hold 1.3, 1.4 left. That's off the left. Wow. Where on earth did that go?
How bad?
That was like 3 targets left.
Okay.
But maybe it was a skip. I couldn't tell.
Okay, I'm using 1.3 and 1.4.
Okay. Were you on the right target?
Yep.
Okay.
Like, I am not. Yes, I am not perfect, but I'm not like that. So
No, but Henry, I think we need to just clarify here. This is something that I noticed even going as far back as the classic review on this rifle, where I had printed groups, and some of them were really tight. Some of them with the ELD tips were really tight. But then we also had a group on camera that was shot where it was really tight, and then it was just a round that was just sitting off the side. And so after that we had taken this out to shoot a practical accuracy run. This was like a year plus ago. And in shooting it with the ELD tipped ammo, that then you had this issue that you were describing, and it caused us to go back and do some additional looks and to see whether or not the extra BC that we were picking up with using the tipped rounds really was worth it or not compared to the consistency we were getting out of the SMKs.
No, yeah, and that's something, and I will attribute this to Adrian from Sidewinder Concepts. He's really one of the guys that we talked to, who was like, yeah, we used to see the tips break off in our 110s and stuff. So
based on the angle of the loading and the dimensions of the chamber,
right?
And
so
that was like a light bulb that clicked, right? Where we look at it and go, oh, that would make sense with we're shooting super consistently, and then all of a sudden we have a super janky round.
Right.
And we can't replicate that except with this tipped ammo.
Right. And frankly, I mean, that's why we shot it with gold medal match, and it performed exceptionally well with gold medal match. This is actually the whole thing. I don't want to dwell on this too much longer, but it was really cool for me to learn about this. About the issues that some semi-autos could have with tipped ammo, because I don't shoot a lot of tipped ammunition. I'm not chasing that hyper BC. I just standardize everything to make M118 LR loads that spreads across all of my rifles. So if I shot tipped ammunition, it was typically I shoot it with my bolt actions. So this was a phenomenon I'm not in the position to discover this phenomena, which you are, and the TX10 was the item that showed us semi-auto rifles. Why? Just that is a point of concern if that's the primary ammunition you're using.
Yeah, and again, you look at a number of other ones where we're shooting 6.5 tipped rounds, and it's been fine. Who knows? Don't know why, but probably 1 out of every 2 boxes, or let's call it 1 out of every box for sake of safety, we would have just a crazy flyer round with those tipped loads. So with this rifle specifically. So again, when Henry's talking about when you really get some of these rifles, especially like the more precise or precision oriented large frame stuff, it's a lot of it comes down to figuring out the particularities or the quirks that a given rifle may or may not have. It may have nothing to do with that rifle itself. It could be ammunition related, right? To the point here. But it's one of those things where it's like, nope, we're going to shoot gold medal out of this gun, and we're going to gas it very particularly for gold medal, and then the thing's a monster.
This is a part of the evaluation process that I think the audience doesn't get to see very often, because for this rifle, I mean, we're not talking about a historical thing. We don't have like a historical backstory to talk about its employment, etc. So this one was very T&E heavy because we had to figure all these things out. And the interesting thing about this, like before we got to the conclusion that it could be tipped ammunition, we were even testing magazines, multiple different kinds of magazines. Is it PMag? Is it a PMag issue? Is it a metal mag issue? We were logging the rounds, whether I was on the left side or the right side of the magazine.
Yeah, is it changing the angle at which it was feeding and potentially damaging the round? Yes, 100%.
So the amount of effort and time that's on the back end, on the admin end, that does not get recorded, that's actually reflected in this particular review, and the type of data that we internally were able to generate. And it's interesting for us to learn. So for me, this was an interesting time to sort of bring some of those things back to light, some of the trial and errors, and really figuring out what this is, because it's also not a military rifle, so it's a little bit out of my typical sphere of interest. And so I would treat, if I were you, and I know you already do, gold medal match is very close to the M118 LR loading. I think there's value in sort of standardizing it to the military match cartridge.
I think that this particular rifle was a catalyst to going through a standardization on my part, where instead of buying a case of 5 different match ammos and testing it, which you guys see us do just to see what our top optimal accuracy can be on some of like the how accurate episodes are, instead of doing that and chasing and trying to pair a specific load to a particular rifle, I'm like you. I have moved towards this. Yeah, it's kind of good enough. Like it might not be the tightest grouping ammo, but it's still serviceably tight. And I'm stocked deep on it. I have a bunch of it, and I know it's going to function reliably in the system or across multiple systems. I've gravitated towards that model as opposed to like trying to pick out the absolute specific perfect loading for any given singular rifle.
When we do these tests for so many different rifles, it just becomes very cumbersome to completely pair things, unless there's a historical pairing.
With that said, Henry, I mean, again, if you guys want more info on like the specifics of the build or what the conceptual elements of what this thing is trying to achieve are, you of course can go and check out the classic video on this. Otherwise, head down to the comments section and let Henry know that, he ought to be more interested in these large frame gas guns, because they are the future. Soon, Henry, soon, they will all be military firearms, right? They'll all be actual. This is the way of the world, Henry. It's the way that the mill is going. The MRGG program cannot be ignored. We'll see you guys over on Patreon, in the Discord, in the comment section here. And as always, we'll see you on the range.
This is 096, 4 Vic, 8 packs, Redcon 1, green to green. How copy, over?
096, this